Hey, good morning, my friends. I'm Live Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Yeah, I see a lot of folks waiting for me. I was trying to get an article up on MLive before I went live, so that took me a little bit, and then new data starts coming in, and I started looking at that. So let's get to it. Not a lot has changed from yesterday. The severe weather areas are pretty much the same. We'll look at this, and long story short, it's a 3 p.m.-ish in the southwest and west central part of lower Michigan to a 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. time frame, Ann Arbor, Detroit, Saginaw, Flint area. So second half of the afternoon, first half of the evening, you know what that means is that means that the severe thunderstorms can, reap the benefit, unfortunately, of the heat and the humidity and the energy of the day. So here we go. We'll start with, some of you are saying, oh, it's going already, right? No, these are not the severe thunderstorms. They're robust thunderstorms across the Thumb, the Saginaw area, but not severe. And at this time, 9:51, they're probably ending too early to thwart the severe weather this afternoon. If this was noon or 1 o'clock, I would say, hey, maybe it'll keep the air cool, keep us out of the severe weather. Wow, we got a lot of folks on here. Not sure that I can see all the questions there. So this is the first part of it. Now, let's get into it. So here's your severe weather forecast for today. They just sent an update. I was kind of waiting for that. They said they'd have it by 9 a.m. It was a little bit later than that, and it really has not changed materially at all. Maybe just, a few miles here and there. So the orange area is a level 3 out of level 5 risk, what we would call an enhanced risk. That's getting up there. Moderate risk really gets our attention. Enhanced risk does get my attention. Moderate steps it up quite a bit. And here in Michigan, a high risk is very rare. That happens maybe, once every 5 years or so. So enhanced risk, highest risk, just south of Grand Rapids, through the Lansing area, through the Ann Arbor area, Jackson, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, all of southern Michigan. Not in the Detroit area, and not in Saginaw and Flint and north of Grand Rapids to Big Rapids. That's a level 2 risk there. The right side is the tornado risk, 5% chance within 25 miles of any point. That usually means a couple of tornadoes could occur, is the way I would call it. Now let's go to the wind gusts. 30% chance of damaging wind gusts over 70 miles an hour is what the Storm Prediction Center says. And that would be, again, south side of Grand Rapids to Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, through the Lansing area, Ann Arbor. So basically what you're seeing is on the south side of the storm along the cold front, a squall line is expected to develop and move across the southern and south central part of the state and into southeast lower Michigan, into the Detroit area, but maybe by 8 or 9 o'clock starting to falter a little bit. I'll show you the radar forecast in that. And then the severe hail, 1 inch or greater, 5% chance, so it's kind of being looked at as a secondary risk. Hey, if you got an empty garage, I'd still put the car in the garage. All right, here is the radar right now. And again, the severe weather is yet to develop. So everything that we have now will quiet down. There's the satellite imagery showing you the clear-cut storm system down in Missouri. You can get a feel for the circulation center there, northeast Missouri, let's call it, moving toward the northeast. So that's the low pressure center that will come across our state this afternoon and this evening, and that is the classic severe weather setup. All right, so now the radar forecast. And this should give you a good idea of what we expect. This has been pretty consistent, This is the latest high-resolution rapid refresh model. Give us a good reflection on timing. So this is 2 o'clock this afternoon. It's fairly quiet. Now, tornadoes would most likely occur along the warm front, which would be stretched from Saginaw to the Grand Rapids area in isolated thunderstorms. And that's kind of what this is trying to show at 4 o'clock this afternoon. A couple of isolated thunderstorms in the forecast. Saginaw area, central part of the state, with, again, you can see the main curl to the storm system and the thunderstorms back to the southwest, getting ready to move into southwest lower Michigan. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So I'm saying 3 to 5 is when the severe weather starts in the southwest. This is 6 o'clock, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can kind of see the downswing between 8 and 10. This doesn't appear to be one that's going to stay strong through the overnight as far as stay severe. So if you like, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, you're in the severe weather probably 3 to 5 o'clock. Lansing, Ann Arbor, you're probably in the severe weather from 5 to 7 o'clock. Saginaw into the Detroit area, you're probably in the severe weather 7 to 9 o'clock. Then the severe weather comes to an end and a moderate to heavy widespread rain develops on the backside of the storm system. This would be in the cooler side of the storm, so it would not produce severe weather as in strong gusts or tornadoes or hail, but that could be a solid 1 to 2 inch rain developing there across the northern half of lower Michigan. We go to 10 tomorrow morning, still hanging on 11 noon, and then off in the afternoon. But I do want to warn you that we are in a situation right now where the hot dome is building. I've told you about that. We'll look at that. It's still also in the makings. And on the edge of hot domes, when we have these disturbances right up over them, you can get numerous bouts of severe weather. They're very fast movers. This is the biggest, most widespread, predictable storm system we have coming. But Friday night, Saturday morning, it looks like a burst of thunderstorms, and it shifts northward. So it's potential that you could have more severe weather Friday night, Saturday morning than you do this afternoon, depending on where you're located. But we'll just take it one step at a time. How does that sound? So you got it figured out this afternoon and this evening. Now here is that same model on its total rainfall. And look at this, you see a lot of red areas. The red areas are 2 inches or more. This model does know how to forecast thunderstorms, convection, the heavy rain off of it, but it can often underdo the heaviest rains by double. So we could see some 3 to 4 inch amounts somewhere from the northeast through the Saginaw Valley to the Grand Rapids, Muskegon area. As you go northward to Traverse City now, it looks like the heaviest is shifted south of you, and as you get into the southeast, you'll get the rain that comes through on the squall line of thunderstorms. That can be a ½ inch to an inch in a very short time period, and maybe up to 2 inches. Okay, so what I'm saying for today is, pretty likely that you're not going to want to be outside when this line of thunderstorms moves through. Whether it's severe or not, it certainly will have a lot of lightning, a lot of wind gusts, something you need to take shelter from. So this afternoon and this evening, I would say no boating and no hiking or, camping. You're going to want to get out of the camper into your vehicle away from trees as the squall line approaches. Otherwise, stay about 15 minutes away from safe shelter and keep your eye on the radar on MLive.com/weather. Now let's get into the heat. And really, really no changes there either. So it's very likely going to happen. So here we go. So here's our bend in the jet stream. That's what develops severe weather, okay? So we'll look for other bends in the jet stream. And like I said, as the ridge develops, the bends are more subtle because they're coming over the top of ridge. This is Saturday morning, 8 a.m. See that tight packing of the heights in the mid-level of the atmosphere across the UP, northern Wisconsin? See the little bend? That is a significant upper air system in a developing hot dome of ridge with a lot of energy. So we will keep a close eye on that for a Saturday burst of thunderstorms, probably early. And that is a secondary maximum, by the way, for severe wind gusts. Hey, Marjorie Stevens, you are welcome. Now, look, as we go into Sunday, the ridge has fully built in and we are hot. And it looks about the same as yesterday, maybe just a very small skosh, not as hot as yesterday, very small. Instead of maybe talking 100, we're talking maybe 97 in the far southeast. You can also see why southeast, Detroit, Ann Arbor, will be hotter than, say, Grand Rapids or northern lower Michigan in this case. Now we're into Tuesday, and that ridge is holding tight, and the timing of the breakdown of the ridge still appears to be Thursday, maybe a little bit earlier. This is Wednesday, now this is Thursday. Note that the ridge is breaking down for a little while as we go into the following weekend. And breaking down means 70s and 80s. Doesn't mean going back to really cold weather. And then as we go to July 3rd, you know, the atmosphere still looks quite warm, does not look abnormally warm just yet. All right, temperatures today. Going to be well into the 80s in the far southeast. Going to be 82 from Grand Rapids to Saginaw southward. Traverse City, you're probably going to be in the mid-70s, I would say. Tomorrow, we're all quote-unquote cooler because of clouds, residual showers, northwesterly wind. Trina Height, what about White Pigeon and for today's severe weather? Yeah, you're going to be in it in the afternoon hours. Friday, back to the low 80s. Saturday, most of us will flirt with 90 degrees on Saturday. Sunday, most of us will eclipse 90 degrees. Ann Arbor to Detroit, you could be 95-ish. Grand Rapids in the pavement, you could be 95-ish, something like that. Monday, 90s all the way up to the Mackinac Bridge. The far southeast, as that ridge builds in, different scenario for Detroit, Ann Arbor, Monroe, where it's excessive heat, versus, say, a Saginaw, Grand Rapids, where it's just uncomfortably hot and humid. Here's Tuesday, continues to build that 90s. And remember, we saw the ridge starting to break down on Wednesday. So still 90s in the southern third, but maybe cooling off to the north. And by Thursday, we start to have the cooler air come in, drop us to the 70s and 80s. It doesn't do it for long, according to this, as 90s will hang there, and we'll just have to see how it goes out, way out into the future, whether the ridge comes back. Typically at this time of the year, the ridge has a lot easier time coming back than not, because we're heading toward the hottest part of the year. So we're going to watch severe weather today. We're going to get through it. You know, common sense, get to the middle part of your house as the line of storms moves through, and I'll keep you updated on any localized focus points of extreme severe weather. And then we will be ready for a big, hot, humid stretch, 3, 4, 5 days of it in a lot of places. And that's coming up as we head on into the weekend. Hey, thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. As always, make sure you bookmark mlive.com/weather, and we will keep you updated on any tweaks and as the severe weather develops. And then, of course, we'll be back here live in the evening if needed, and it more than likely will be needed. Take care.